Good evening, everyone. My name is Lindsay Kate Brown. I am the founder of United Opera, and tonight we will be interviewing the infamous, the wonderful, the beautiful Felix Jarrar. Felix is a composer of all types of music. I've been reading, has been composed over 100 works of art songs, operas, cantatas, string quartets, and just a phenomenal human, and I'm really excited. I've actually never met him, so this will be our first meeting, the meeting of the minds. I wore my hair curly today for the occasion because his hair is literally the best thing ever. So I'm gonna welcome Felix onto the show. All right. Just like shout at him. But hello!
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to meet you.
Me too. Nice to meet you.
Yes, I wore my hair specifically for this occasion because I envy your hair so much. It's actually disgusting, but it's
Aw.
fine.
I also washed my hair for today, so we brought our hair game, which is like
So we knew we were coming to give some looks, so we showed up, we washed our hair. How are
yes,
you doing? What's going on? Are you in Brooklyn right now?
yes. I'm in Brooklyn, so yeah, I was here. I just went for a walk. There's a park about 2 blocks away, which is super
Okay.
nice. And just yeah, it was a chill day.
Oh,
I wrote a new song this morning, but
just casually. You were like,
it's
I
like
just sat down and was like, cup floweth over, here is a tune. I love that. Wait, okay, so explain to me like what has been going on. Obviously, COVID is like the worst ever. But like, what is the process been like for you in COVID in terms of like being able to write music or perform music or everything? How it's been going on?
Yeah, I was talking about this actually with my friend Lucas Bauk a little while back, and it's sort of like this pause we've all just had to take because we had no
Hmm.
choice has kind of been like a great time to workshop pieces, to
Absolutely.
live with ideas, and to maybe work on things I wouldn't probably have written if I was, also performing some also piano solo concerts or like recordings or like
Yeah.
or live just so it's kind of been a blessing in disguise in that
Yeah.
way. So I've been lucky in that sense. And it's,
Oh, that's good.
um, of course, everything's virtual. So it's like, the piano karaoke track has to come first and then it goes to the singers. But we've actually been able to do a lot through that and
Oh, good.
kind of work through it. We sort of like upgraded from like last year in March when we started doing them. It was like they put my accompaniment on their speaker and just blast it
Hmm.
out, and then we just like stream it on Facebook. And now
Oh, okay.
like edit things together, and like we've
We
like
had the luxury of time, which
right.
is not necessarily something that we had pre-COVID, and it's been a wild year, but I do think it's important to find those silver linings where we can find them. So I love that you are looking at it from that outlook. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, I try to always like find something that's like
Hmm.
inspiring or motivating just as like something to work on and stuff. And
Yeah,
it wasn't always like, oh, this is great. I felt in the mood to write. It sort of like varied, especially like last year, because there
sure.
was like a point in the summer where I just like, especially when there was all of the BLM riots and also the riots
Yes,
were
absolutely.
quite bad. There were like flashbang grenades going off. I sort of needed to take a little pause and like readjust
Sure.
and just, but yeah, sort of it's been just nice just to find like little things to work on, like, oh, I wanted to do this, or like also people
Yeah.
out to me to collaborate that I'm friends with and that we hadn't worked on stuff in a
Hmm.
while. Worked with my friend Jordan Rudder on a set of
Okay.
songs for countertenor, which I probably wouldn't have written if I didn't run into them on the beach during like
Right.
social distance thing. So like hey, let's collab. So sort of stuff like that, like to take pause and do things like that's
Yeah.
cool.
Well, that's amazing. I love that you have taken this time as like, yes, a time to stop and reflect and to deal with the things that you've had to deal with, but also like I'm gonna get down, I'm gonna do work because I think that there's room for both. Some people have spent a good fair mix of this time this past year doing both, and I think it's helping people in a lot of ways. So I love that you have done that. Um, okay, I want to. Can we just start at the very beginning,
Yeah, let's
really
start.
quickly? Oh my, I have my favorite things slash Sound of Music slash Life on the Brain because of HBO, but it's fine.
Yeah,
Um,
sounds
okay,
like it's
so
really always.
oh my God, it's my life. It's fine.
Yeah.
Tell me how you started, like how you got into composition, where this all came from.
So my parents are both not musical. I'm from Connecticut, from Fairfield, and
Oh, killer.
when I was a toddler, I was kind of a brat. Every time my parents passed a house of my friends, I'd always demand to stop there because they had a piano, and I wanted to
Oh,
play. So every time, no matter what they were doing, I'd make them stop. So it
hmm.
got to the point where, like, especially because I'm stubborn, as I said, I was a brat. They got me a piano, and it's my piano I still have to this day. My very first piano.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So I've been, yeah, and then basically started playing music, piano, and composing at the same time. I was also a dancer. I danced ballet for several years, so I was very
Okay,
inspired, by doing the Nutcracker and stuff like that because
sure.
yeah, and I really enjoyed it also because they'd always give me like the gymnastic stuff to do because I used to be able to like walk on my hands and do like all sorts of crazy things when I was like
That's
a
awesome.
quarter. So like my first piece of music I wrote was actually called The Firebird. LOL. Hey Stravinsky, what's up?
Yeah,
So
it's fine. It's fine.
yeah, so basically I started from there really composing a lot for piano and doing a
Hmm.
lot of playing my own pieces, which I still do. But what really came to the forefront though was the vocal music. And when I
Yeah.
was in fifth grade, I saw a performance of The Marriage of Figaro, which is a really great first opera for anyone who is looking for a
Yeah.
first opera. And I fell in love with it. I kind of just got bit with the opera bug from that. And
Mm.
my piano teacher also, he had like a huge library of like music and stuff. So
Sure.
I have all the dictionaries and all the history books, and so and he also like had a random array of like obscure bel canto opera recordings from like Caballé doing Il Parata, doing the Miracales, doing Anna
Oh,
Bolena,
amazing.
a lot of stuff that is and so I would basically like just like choose a CD and listen to it and then like read along with the libretto to like understand
Hmm.
what's going on and then we'd watch, my sister and I would like watch the Met broadcasts like for fun and like we'd
Yeah.
choose a different opera each week to rent from the library because
Uh-huh.
like we were homeschooled, so I ended up just homeschooling because I just wanted to like write a lot. So basically
Yeah.
for like studying I just would like so and that's basically how I learned the repertoire was just through like a lot of listening and stuff.
That's so cool.
And when it came time for me to graduate high school, so I kind of wanted like to still have like a liberal arts foundation and still like do coursework, but
Hmm.
also do music. So then I went to Marlborough College in Vermont, which is kind of it's known as the most liberal school in the country, and like
Perfect.
it's very hippie. There's only like 180 people. There was like 40 people in my graduating class, and it's a school
Wow.
where there's no majors really. You kind of design your own curriculum, but that
Yeah.
was well for me. Yeah, they really supported a lot, and I just from there I wrote my second opera, The Fall of the House of Usher, at
Hmm.
my master's thesis, and that sort of was my first show that kind of took off because it went to New York at the Domena Center. Um,
Yeah.
the senior year, and then after that, I moved to Brooklyn and did my master's at Brooklyn College. Then I
Yeah.
graduated about 8 months before the pandemic. So
Wow.
my
Holy cow. Well,
so
one of the reasons I ask where people have come from, whether they're singers, composers, directors, conductors, is that I am a firm believer, and this is why I started United in Opera, that like not one path is the right path.
yeah,
And you don't have to go to a conservatory and another conservatory and get a manager or your first big publishing or your first big premiere. That's not how it works.
yeah,
There are so many different ways to succeed and to reach your own level of success that if I can help give people that like little nugget that will help them get a little bit further, like I'm doing my job. And so I appreciate you telling me that because you didn't have a conventional path.
yeah. I did
Like, I
not.
love that. Like, you started young and you just like fell in love with it instantly and you engulfed yourself in it. And I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I just love like I love like in whatever I do, I love totally immersing myself in it. Like
Hmm.
when I'm and also like I'm taking this when I write a piece, like I will like study everything. I'll get so many books. I'll
Sure.
many things. I'll like download like, you know, papers from Google Scholar to see
Oh,
what
cool.
smart people say about it, and then see what I can draw from that. So yeah, I love like because I think like one thing I think is true for everything is like in music you're your own best teacher, because
Yes.
after you get all the things that you have granted to you or not granted to you, it's up to you in some way to kind of target how you want to do that. Like, oh, you had this experience, so I can take
Absolutely.
it to do this thing, you know, or maybe I studied this thing, and oh, now I'm writing a piece about it, so I can like, and I remember this problem I had that I went over with my composition teacher.
Yeah.
Very, you know, and I've just also been someone who I think more than others has learned on the job, because I've just
Mm-hmm.
like it's not like I was in school and they said this is what you're going to do and this is how you're going to do it. Now go out into the world and do it. I sort of had,
Yeah.
oh, I have my opera going up in New York. Okay, I have to learn how to conduct. I have to learn how to do that. So I taught myself how to do that.
Yeah.
And the school gave me money and we had a professional cast and everything. And so I've had to learn. So everything I've done has kind of been as I've been putting myself out there, which is
Absolutely.
how, it's not how everybody learns. It just worked for me, you know? But yeah,
Yeah.
like, definitely not a conventional path, but like, I'm
Yeah.
always like a believer. It's such a Vermont thing, but like forging your own path, like kind
Yeah.
of is like, I think that's important, because especially like now it's so easy to do so, and why not
Absolutely.
time in the world?
Well, it's such an important thing for people to hear that, you know, I can only speak from the singer's perspective, of course, because that's what I do, but like if you apply to Juilliard and don't get into Juilliard, your life is not over. You are
Yeah,
not going to not be successful. There are so many ways to get to where you want to be.
yeah.
And so I love that, like, that was our first part of our chat, because I think that's such an important piece of information that people just need to hear, like, over and over and over.
Yeah, I went to a liberal arts school for my bachelor's, and then for my
Hmm.
master's, I went to a state school, Brooklyn College. And
Yeah.
it was great, cheap and good. Two things
We
to look
love,
for.
we love cheap and good.
That's my motto.
I literally was like, and my motto is cheap and good. It's
Yeah.
fine. Okay. So do you remember what your first composition was by any
Uh,
chance?
oh yeah, the Firebird of Stravinsky. Like so yeah,
So that
yeah.
was your first ever.
That was my first piano piece when I was 5. I wrote it. It was like very colorful. Yeah, I was like
Oh, I
a.
love that.
It's yeah. So my mom has it saved somewhere.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna say, do you ever go back to it at all?
No.
Like you're like, no, she's
Would
she's
you
good.
like if you were showing someone you're singing, would you show them you singing at 5?
No.
So,
On occasion, I'll show like my best friends, like my like high school, like Ave Maria,
yeah.
like from the talent show, and then I just cringe the whole time, and it's fine.
Yeah, no, I definitely have my juvenilia. The oldest piece I have in my catalog is from when I was 17. And that's a Toccata and Fugue on a theme from Mozart's Requiem, the Domine Jesu Christe. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so that's usually what I have as the first piece from,
As like one.
as like, well, the one that's public. Then there's like a whole bunch of others. Like there's a symphony,
Yeah.
there's a violin concerto, there's my first opera. There's like a bunch of things
Oh.
that aren't gonna, I think, see the light of day, but I still keep them. But like
Yeah.
it's like it's for I don't know, like the behind the scenes or whatever content.
Absolutely. Well, this brings me to my next question. So like I assume, this is my own assumption, I assume that every composer has their own compositional style and
Yeah.
how they like to write and what types of structures they like to use and all these things. One, how, like, would you describe your structure? And two, do you feel like your structure has changed over time?
That's such a great question. So how I would describe my structure, I really love referencing one foot in the past and then a foot in the present. So I love drawing on, you know, recitative, aria, cena, those kinds of aria.
Mm,
So I always in my libretti, if when I'm writing them or if I'm not writing them with my librettist, we always break down the score into different sections. So we're like, okay, this is
yeah,
the recit, this is the aria,
sure.
this is the ensemble, this is a duet. I want this line together. this, I want this, do you want a line spoken? If so, which ones? So I'm very,
Yeah.
so all my scores are not written out like from measure 1 to 5,000. It's like it's like each is like an aria, then you have a recit, then you have that, and then it goes
Okay.
which is
So very sectional.
very sectional, and then it's together, because for me it's just like, just so also I can remember what I'm doing in my head, and also communicating my ideas, because I think it's one thing I try to do with structure is communicate my musical ideas in the, not to oversimplify them, in the simplest way possible, for it to be,
Absolutely.
for other people can also say, I get it, that's how I'm supposed to approach it, because it can also influence.
Absolutely.
The singer singing recit part will be different than how they sing the aria part. So having that very clear in the score is super different, and how it's changed over time. So talking about my opera, The Fall of the House of Usher, that is a tragic piece, but it's dialogue with aria. So it goes, it's like, kind of like a Singspiel, a serious Singspiel.
Oh, cool.
They utilize that. And then my opera Tabula Rasa, which is a jazz opera, because it's very inspired by jazz, that has recit that goes between arias and stuff like that, and like,
sure,
like recitativo secco, so like more like the Mozart type. And then
sure.
I also have recit that's more drawn out and elaborate, like and more influenced by like the through composed Verdi style and other opera hindsight. And so I love to try to, like, from my earliest works to now, I love to use different things, like, but depending on what I want emotionally, and also like on what communicates the text, because
absolutely.
I think structurally, well, this also goes into the actual writing, but I think I've also used structure to show the emotion of the characters, like, like to a just a more internalized view, especially with the subjects I'm writing now, because like they're more there's a lot of introspective stuff with a lot of the drama on stage. So I think I've allowed it to like open up, you know, like a Pandora's box of emotion. So I
love that.
Yeah. So I've kind of been like using that as like a gateway. It's like, oh, there's this scene. I can use this here, and then I can talk about this with this character. And so, yeah.
Well, I love that, because I think about this sometimes. I mean, again, I'm not a composer by any means, but I think about, if you think about Verdi, you can very specifically pinpoint what his music is. And same with Mozart. And while that's like well and good, and that, you know, stakes your name in that specific style of music, what I love about your music, and I've listened to little bits and pieces of it, is that there are influences from everywhere. And it just shows that you can be inspired by anything.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, my favorite music to listen to is Britney. So like that's like so like I love pop culture. A lot of that kind of kitsch element of art actually has influenced me quite a lot. So yeah, I like anything kind of inspires me. I draw a lot from popular music, which kind of makes some people think like, oh, are you a musical theater composer? But no, I'm not. I'm like too musical theater for some classical people, but then I'm definitely too classical for a lot of like the more popular music type. So it's kind of like I've always like sat on the cusp, because I always like I have so many different influences, like jazz, pop, bel canto, a lot of influence from bel canto, so that kind of thing. And then I draw on like other things too. It's just, and Strauss is like a really huge influence on me. So I also, because I like get bored easily too, so I like to always like change things up or like draw on things. And also like I also write also in German, and now I wrote a song in French last year. So like I love playing also with like language. That's been fun. So yeah, I just love being like a chameleon. Also because like it's okay to do that now. You know, nowadays, like not like about like, you know, the 20th century, like the late 20th century. You know, it was still like we were still in the like you had to be atonal, like you had to do this, or it wouldn't be taken seriously by the establishment, institution, or whatnot. But sort of we're far enough away from that where it could be like, hey, you can write a C major chord and it's totally fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
That's fine.
From a singer standpoint, I like that. I mean, I like the funky stuff too, don't get me wrong. But like, I love it when you can go away from whatever piece I've worked on and I can sing it. It's just like is a little earworm, because I think that's also really helpful for audiences. Well, that's a whole other thing we can talk about. But I do want to talk about, because you've written so many art songs. and
Yes.
then also a ton of opera as well. Do
Yeah.
you, when you are like composing them and getting the ideas together and really concentrating, do you work on them in different ways, or do you separate them in your mind at all?
So when I'm doing like art song or oratorio rep, the narrative is passive voice instead of an active voice like an
Sure.
opera. So I'm thinking more in terms of descriptiveness when I'm writing art song, and then an opera, I'm thinking very much the dramaturgy on just like the dramatic impetus of the music because it's staged and there's other things. This
Yeah.
music is everything, but you know there's action going along with it.
Sure.
And then when it's art song, it's really the text, the singer, and the pianist, and sort of in that atmosphere, creating a mood. And it really varies. You know, some of the texts I write a lot of my own texts, and so it'll be drawn from
Right.
personal experiences. Like I had a song cycle I wrote called Happy last year, which was about kind of my journey with mental illness and different facets of it. And then also like I also said a lot of Thomas Hardy poetry. So sort of
I
like
like Thomas Hardy.
I love Thomas Hardy. He's
Yeah.
my Victorian BFF. Like
Yeah.
like I love his pessimism, and it's really there's so much depth to it, and it lends itself so well to music. It's very musical and it's very tragic, and I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So I will, you know, definitely read into that. You know, I wrote a set of Hardy songs called Songs of the Kappa's Gate for soprano. And one of the songs is a setting of the poem The Darkling Thrush, and it's about a narrator who sees a bird throw itself at joy, and that brings the narrator into the most incredibly low depression you can possibly
Yeah.
experience. And I just love that. It's just such a I love getting to that headspace of what that might sound like, and also like perform it too. It's like it's I always find like something new to do when I'm also
Yeah.
because his text has so many levels. And then I also set Lanau. He's an Austrian romantic poet. And he wrote a lot of really wonderful poetry, and it's very delicate. There's a lot of wonderful images, and then there's also really powerful poems. Did a set last year called the Traumlieder, and there's a poem called Niagaga, which talks about Lanau traveling to New York to see Niagara
Oh,
Falls.
wow.
Starts off from the tributary, and then it's like almost like a camera, and it goes out and you see the whole waterfall, and then it zooms back in into like where it came from. And
Sure.
so I love like also getting into images like that and how to like create that
Absolutely.
because like in that one like the accompaniment grows and grows and grows, and then it subsides into very quiet. So yeah. So I guess I love to like I get more into like the very nitty gritty of the text meaning with the art song in a way where opera is like there's always something else, you know, there's always like that subtext of what's going on, you know,
Yeah.
or like a way of saying something, or and in song it's really more direct. Like you have that
Right.
a direct thing. I mean, and if there's humor. I've done comedic songs as well. I have a whole series of oral sex songs, kind of
Perfect.
like, you know, classical WAP, what up?
Listen,
So
better than the kids bop wop, let me tell you. Holy Moses. Oof. Okay, continue, please.
yeah,
While
no.
we're on the subject of WAP.
So basically, I love to approach the text like that, and also just sometimes like different parts of text like stick out at me. I don't know, whenever I read something, I always wonder, how would that sound set to music? And that's why my head's the worst place to be sometimes, because
Sure.
but
There's just always stuff going on.
yeah, I know, or I'll like. Because I'm never like just reading a poem or a story. I'm like, can this be a song? Can this be an opera? Which is like, I'm learning how to like not do that as much, so I don't like get myself in trouble with like committing to too much. But I'm like, okay.
Sure.
So yeah, but I always like just like also hear that in the text, which is super fun. And I don't know, it's just like, and it's like it's also fun to live with and also think about like different meanings. And I've also been getting into Rilke recently. I just my first two Rilke settings and his poetry is like got so many layers, and also
Yeah.
all mystical shit. And I'm an atheist, so I'm like, okay, what is he meaning by this? And I found
Yeah.
interesting meanings in it. I mean, the poetry like speaks in very, very different ways.
Sure.
I just love that. And always in song, I always find something new. I don't know. I think it's just like very different. So I have like the hearty songs, but then I also mentioned I write comedy songs. I wrote a song cycle with my own original text called Vampire Delights, which is about a girl who is done with mortal men. So she convinces a vampire to make her one by biting her, and then she tells him, "Bite my cookie, or I'll go find another vampire that will go do it." And it's about like a femdom who's sex positive, and I'm like very much a believer.
I love that.
Creating that rep. So that there's also that, which is
well, this is a perfect segue because I was going to ask you, like, how does it work writing your own text? Because there's not a ton of composers who write their own text. Yeah. So, like, what is that like? And, like, do you go through a specific creative process, or is it just, like, words just kind of, like, flow out and you do, like, a daily flow?
It kind of depends on what I'm working with. What I always try to do is I always try to do dramaturgical research first, so I know what I'm talking about. And then if it's my own story, I like to storyboard, you know, like do scene by scene, like, oh, this is what's happening, and I'll break it down.
Yeah.
And from there, I'll have the libretto, like, okay, then I can start to fill it in from there. So I like the thing about creating sections, because like otherwise I'll lose track. So, and then in terms of just writing the text, you know, like writing text that allows music to breathe. So like it's not the text everything. It's like it still needs music. So still having that space, and then also like not everything needs to rhyme. So like don't, please, like it can get pretty fucking stupid. Like,
because what rhymes with orange? Nothing. Like, no, and I like, it's funny because I say that as a joke, but that's so true though. Like, that we as a literary society throughout life have always, and when you're in like elementary school, you're like, what words rhyme with brown? And you're like, I don't know, because I literally can't think of anything because I'm so upset with myself right now. I was like, ground. It's fine. But like, we are taught that is the way to write poetry, and that is a way.
Yeah. No, totally.
It's not the only way.
You can use rhyme in your libretto, but the whole thing doesn't have to fucking rhyme. Like, don't.
Yeah.
It's usually pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love the literary idea that when you say a specific word, like you say, like rustling, that the text reflects that. Like, I love that, like literary devices, things like that. Obviously, I'm not a librettist. Please do not ask me. You can have me sing. Do not make me write. But I love that you do that, because there's not a ton of composers who do that, who write their own libretto.
Yeah.
And I think it's brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
of course.
it was always important for me to learn how to like express also my own words and ideas too. Like,
yeah.
Clearly, and it's definitely a skill. It's not like, oh, I'm a composer, that means I can be a librettist. Don't do that. Like,
sure.
Like actually like look at it and see. And then I also do work with other librettists, like most notably B. Goodwin, who's written any libretti for me for song and opera.
Yeah. we were gonna talk about them as well, because I thought that, because you do a lot of directing with, like, well, not you direct, but they do directing with you as well. Yes.
B is also a brilliant stage director, opera director, and also the lyricist librettist, and and when we do pieces together, she will direct, and then I will music direct from the pit. So we're kind of like the duo that way.
Well, it's funny because we were talking about texts that you've written, we were talking about B, and UIO yesterday highlighted Mother Goose.
Yeah.
And so, like, I just want the world to know what this is. So can you please explain to them what Mother Goose, a comic drag opera. Can you please explain this?
Yeah,
because
I can.
I haven't gotten the chance to watch it all the way, but I'm already dead. Like, I'm already dead. So please
So
explain what Mother Goose is.
Mother Goose is a drag comic chamber opera I wrote. It was my master's thesis for my master's degree at Brooklyn College. I wrote the libretto and score on my original short story. It's about Leonora Gooseling, who's known throughout the land of happily ever after as a Mother Goose because she writes fairy tales about the guests that stay in her inn. And her best friend is the fairy godmother, who's the good drag queen. And
Love
they
that.
have to go rescue Sleeping Beauty, who's in the opera called Princess Talia, from Nat, the evil drag queen. And so
Okay.
they do it with the help of Princess a lesbian Beth Dodger from the land of kitty punching, who's disguising herself as Prince Lester. Through lesbian intuition, she knows that Princess Sleeping Beauty is a lesbian. And so she's in disguise for a good part of the opera. Mother Goose has a page boy, Oscar the Fox. Yes, I stole the name from Bala, don't at me.
It's fine.
Because I love that opera. But,
Verdi's done.
So goes along with everything. And there's also the debut of Mother Goose's pop star, Ugly Duckling. She has a record label, and Ugly Duckling has her album debut. And during the wedding with Prince Lester, Tadra Dodger, and Talia, Nat slips Ugly Duckling poisonous poppers, and she dies from. It's the first death by poppers in opera.
Welcome.
So yeah, thank you. And then at the end, they end up rescuing the two princesses. Tadra Dodger comes out. Nat gets defeated in a diva showdown, and there's a gay wedding, and that's how Mother Goose ends.
So basically, it's everything I've ever wanted to see in one foul swoop.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's basically, yes, it is.
Death by poppers. What an interesting thing.
It's called
Holy
the Popper
moly.
Song. Yeah, it's on my YouTube if people want to go watch it.
I definitely will. Well, I do want to talk a little bit about your arias by Felix.
Yeah.
Like that situation. I do want to talk a little bit about that because I went and looked at the Mezzo one because obviously like that's what I do. But I wanted to go look, and a couple of them are from Mother Goose. So I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh. No, I thought that when I saw that and when I was like looking through the photos and going through and I watched bits and pieces of it, I was like, that is such an innovative approach to opera that I feel like can work maybe not anywhere, but can be loved and appreciated by most people, which is awesome. And I love that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Of
it's
course.
sort of like when I was it was also like an interesting piece with writing it because, you know, when you automatically say I'm writing an opera about fairy tales, people think it's a piece for children. This is not a piece for children. It's a fairy tale for adults, if anything. And you know, it's just at home in a house or a theater as it is in a gay bar or you know, like once we got the work out there, people it made sense to people. But before that, people were like, wait, what's this piece? Like how did we like because of like just doing it? But you know, we like came up with this brilliant like PowerPoint Shutterstock scene thing, which Allison the lead, who was the lead contralto, she designed that set and did it and on the PowerPoint
very cool. Okay.
So yeah, and it basically with that piece, you know, I want to have it go at like gay bars or like for Pride or
it totally could.
Yeah, like other places, you know, because there's only pair ensemble and like 7 singers and 1 actor. You can just literally we just use we used stuff in my room, like the blanket that we like put Douglas Deckling's body bag. I mean, that's like
no, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's not like an Aida set, you know what I mean?
Oh no, it's not.
And even more so, it's not the story of Aida. Not that I don't love Aida.
You're not going to smell the horse shit on stage.
Right. Oh, gosh. Well, it's not that I don't love Aida because obviously I love it. You know, I was working on it today. But like with a lot of traditional opera, which I love very, very much, there can be a barrier, a gate that people who haven't been exposed to opera previously feel like they can't come in. Yeah. And that's why I really like Mother Goose, is because I feel like, especially our generation and Gen Z as well, they can come and experience an opera and what it's like to be in an opera, but in an unconventional, futuristic, modern way. And I love that because that's what, in my opinion, I think that's really what the future of opera needs to be.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really think that this is an opera that just as much for people who love drag, for people who love pop
Absolutely.
culture. You know, it's spoken dialogue and song. It's, again, Singspiel style. And so it has that element with the spoken banter and the comedy. And also, I don't think people like write enough comedies now. Like everything is like so very serious. Like comedy is really fun. I mean, it's
Yeah.
fun too, but it's really, really fun. And, you know, I'm all about like kind of bringing opera. I almost think like the way I'm writing opera, it's not like the normal way of like the old standard rep of doing it. It's sort of like, it's
Absolutely.
the form, but it's like a new way of thinking about developing it, bringing it up, the audience, you know, where we do it.
Yeah.
I also do site-specific pieces, like my jazz opera Tabula Rasa was written for a venue in
Okay.
Midtown Blue Building. So site-specific pieces, like doing things like that is like, I
Yeah.
love that. And like with Mother Goose, there were plans to do it at like gay bars and stuff, but then COVID
Yeah.
happened. Now we're just waiting
Well, and like
for like
that show you literally could pack up and put anywhere,
literally,
which is cool. And that's what it should be about is, you know, opera should be about accessibility. And, you know, whether that means accessibility in terms of like we bring the show to you or we are showing you content that you can relate to.
yes.
It comes in two forms, you know, and but yeah, so I love the whole idea that is Mother Goose, a comic, a drag comic chamber opera.
Yeah,
Correct?
and
Did I get it?
and there's gonna be a sequel. So
No way.
there is. Because I had so much material from doing the first Mother Goose.
That you were like, we need another one.
I could not, like, literally, I had probably like the first draft was like 40 pages. So I have like so much material and stuff. So I am working on the sequel. I just finished the libretto probably a few weeks ago. So yeah,
Okay. Well, you heard it here first. Please expect Mother Goose 2, The Return of the Poppers. Like,
yeah, that's totally the name of the.
That's the subtitle. Welcome. I love that. Okay. So before we go into like my final questions that I normally ask, I do want to talk a little bit about what number one about B, just about your relationship, and because y'all have done a ton of stuff together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like how is that relationship in terms of the music making process, in terms of the collaborative process during a show? Like tell me the things.
So the one thing that COVID did not affect was my relationship with B, because she's bicoastal, but she spends most of her time in LA.
Okay.
And so we always are like FaceTiming or texting, and so she'll kind of just like send me something, and then she'll be like, yeah, this is what I was thinking, and then it has a way of like writing fonts for what she wants spoken or what she wants like sung, and then like I'll come to her and ask her things, and it's kind of like we can read each other's minds.
I love that.
Which is really fun, and I'm excited.
That's what a good collaborator does.
Yeah, so it's really fun to just do that. I'm always also very like hungry for a text from her, so I always am like when she ever gives me something, I'm like, okay, I have to like send this, because it's it really inspires me, and there's always like different things. And for all the operas we've done together, she's brought the ideas for them, like Tabula Rasa, Hindsight, Christmas Carol, Patience and Pearl.
Sure.
She came up with, she's like, I want to do those, and that's what I love about like working with different librettists. I want to see what ideas they have, and then I'll come with the music to bring that, because that's an important part of collaboration I love, is like, how can I work with other people's brains, including
absolutely
you know, we met because she directed my opera The Fall of the House of Usher. And
wow.
First
okay.
opera directed, and from there we wrote our first work together, which is a song cycle called Songs of the Soul Beams, which commemorates not only the passing of my father, but the passing of a grandmother, and that went up at the Academy of Music now 4 years ago. Holy shit, that's a long time ago. And then since then we've done like the operas I mentioned, and then lots of other art song, and sort of before the pandemic, well, also during the pandemic, virtually we do like the showcases of like rap from the arias, from the arts. So we've kept that going. And so it's just really great. We've basically like turned into the same person. Like her hair is black and curly, and so it's like we always joke about.
You're slowly morphing into one person.
Basically.
I love that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I love that you can have a relationship with your counterpart in like the opera collaboration world, and it's a healthy relationship where you can feed off of each other and gather information and things like that, which is kind of what the opera world should be in general. But It's fine. It's fine. We can talk about that in a second. Okay. Two questions. And I also want to just like give a shout out, sneak peeks, anything coming up that you want to shout out to. I know Hindsight is coming or has already happened.
Hindsight is been postponed because of COVID,
Oh
and
no.
yeah, no, it's going to be. So we don't have a date for it yet.
Okay.
We're waiting, and also the second New York production of Mother Goose.
Okay.
And so those are TBD, but I do have
Okay.
cool things coming up. I have Sparrow Live on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. I have
Okay.
a virtual concert with Caroline Spaeth and Eugenia Forteza and La Quattro Productions of my cantata, The Unsleeping Ones, and
Yes.
my art songs Voyelle and Yellow, which will be streamed there, so you can view it for 24 hours. It's a virtual one together, and it's the Unsleeping Ones is actually like a cheerful piece about like a saint of color, Saint Alexander the Unsleeping. He figured out to make people pray for like 24 hours by a monk praying for 24 hours and then switching off to another. And it's sung by the angels, and they talk about how awesome it is, and it's fun. It was an interesting topic to get into. And then on April 25th on my YouTube, I am doing a workshop of the complete piano vocal of my opera, The Telltale Heart, which I've been working on for about 5 years, which I'm especially excited about because it's going to be going up a day before my birthday. So it's like my birthday to myself is like the workshop of the piano vocal of one of my
like nearest and dearest pieces.
Yeah, which I'm really excited about. I basically started recording it like in May last year, super slowly. So like, and then gradually, as the singers have been singing and I've been recording, we've got everything now together, and now it's being edited, and I'm excited. It's definitely like the most elaborate of the streams we've done so far, but I'm really glad I had the time to write the piece last year. I took a lot of time to write it, and it's sort of like the next level of where my post stuff is going. It takes a story. The narrator who murders the old man, the narrator is a queer woman, and she murders the old man who's her father because he doesn't accept her for who he is. And then to offset that narration, the opera is narrated by the narrator. And so basically it kind of gives like a whole psychological portrait, and kind of like demystifying the idea of like mental illness and craziness, because in the end it's a traumatized person who's acting out of just hurt, and so it's just kind of humanizing that. And I took a lot of liberties with like the post story, but I put like the same kinds of things that you hear, that if you know the story, you'll recognize the same things in it if you hear it, but done with a different perspective, because everyone thinks that the post stories, that our narrators are just men and just all this, and like they're not just white men, like there's all kinds of people, and they can be. And so I just love to turn that idea on its head, and I sort of in the process just kind of discovered this other facet of just writing like a character for soprano that was not just kind of like a weeping willow, just had like something that I could relate to write her and that experience.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is going to lead me into my second to last question with you. So two things I ask every single interview I have is, number one, what do you feel like we need to change in the opera world? And this is like obviously a very loaded question, and that we could be here for 17 years, you know what I mean? But like, what is the biggest thing that you think that opera needs in order to change, in order to continue to survive, thrive, and grow as an art form?
I think really like thinking outside of the box, like like we have what's the norm, and then kind of just saying no, fuck that, like like application fees, who needs them? Like the same works by dead white men, we don't always need them. Like like we don't need to make a statement about Me Too or sexual assault by doing a new production of Don G. Like we don't, that's been like stuff. Like
I'm gonna be your hype woman, just behind you, just like
you're just gonna be like
anybody listening? Just me, okay.
No, there's like a lot of, and also I think like a healthy culture of new works. I feel like companies spend a lot of time and money and resources into like making like the old rep, like the standard rep, not problematic, or like trying to think of it in new ways, you know, like, look, there's Lohengrin in a shoebox. What? Uh,
Yeah.
I think that money, time, and resources could be given to new composers,
Yeah.
librettists, new ideas, and like see where that goes, because we sort of have this healthy culture of like this undercurrent of like chamber opera that is very much happening and people are interested in, and sort
Yeah.
of I feel that's where it's going to go. I feel like opera is going to be less about the actual houses where you do them and more about all the places you can bring it, because it's not about bringing people to the opera. It's about bringing opera to the people,
Yep.
you know, and making that like a reality, and bringing, you know, doing these outdoor concerts, doing these things that are not conventional venues. I feel like because like at the end of the day, you know, every opera house in the world could crash and burn as it is, you know, because the industry's a total mess. At the end of the day, we still have the music, and that's going to live on, you know, and that's why.
Absolutely.
And that's how I feel like the music, because I know I love the music, and the music, I do think the music is actually really amazing and great. It's going to live on, but
Yeah.
not in the way that we've previously known it to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's there. It's, you know, so it's kind of just like taking the highfalutin ideas of it out of it and just kind of bringing it, because like at the end of the day, like all these emotions that they experience and that are talked about, you know, even in art song
Yeah.
rap and standard rap, they're very universal and they're very moving.
Yeah.
And they're very and I want people to experience that. I think that's a very unique experience, and you know,
Yeah.
there are many different forms of theater and stuff, but like hearing opera with the singing, the unamplified singing, and you know, like all that power and that drama that you get from it, it's kind of
Yeah.
a very unique thing that you can't quite replicate in other forms, you know.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. I think that the way we not save opera, I mean, opera's going through cycles always, you know, the way that we can grow and change our art form is through, again, accessibility, in showing people that, you know, we can do a Lohengrin in a shoebox. I just, in my brain, I was like, what opera can I do on an ice skating rink? I'm ready. I've been practicing. I don't fall anymore. Someone write me an opera. I'll
Yes.
skate in circles. You know what I mean? But like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, if the music is special, which the music is special,
Yeah.
like it should be able to be done anywhere. And
Yeah.
with multiple different types of productions in multiple different viewpoints, it should be
Yeah.
able to not withstand, but it should be able to be morphed into so many different things. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question to you, because I don't want to keep you all night, because I know it's also an hour ahead there, is what would your advice be to, you can go just strictly from a composer standpoint or just an aspiring member of the opera community, whether they're a singer, composer, conductor, director, whatever. What advice would you give to them about finding their own success?
Wow. Well, one way I can answer this is that when I figure it out, I'll let you know. But
Yo, that's
uh,
real.
uh, so I'll let you know. Or, but on the other hand, like preparing, I mean, it's you know, it's an art form where you're constantly learning, constantly
Hmm.
learning new things. So if you so just like study, like there's so many things to study from the rep that works, you know, because of
Yeah,
the thousands of operas that have been written, we have this handful that work, and what makes those work and why. Like, I mean,
yeah,
the composer, that's like really valuable actually to go and see like something tangible, you know, that you can use in your own writing. And I also definitely like text setting is really, really important. Like knowing how to write for the different voice types, you know, knowing that there are
please,
channels besides
please.
repertoire. um, and also instrumentation is really important, because you need to know how to write like and space out things, like you like in terms of timbre, and you know, you just don't give everything to the brass, or maybe like, you know, you might write something like quietly for something that might not even be heard, you know, in the instrumentation. So instrumentation is super important for opera, text setting,
Absolutely.
and just really working with singers. Like I've been really lucky to just get my music in the hands of singers, and I'm a pianist, so we get together, and so it's
Yeah,
sort of like that process of propping something up on its feet. You just learn so much from hearing from that and getting to know what's you know, coming up,
yeah,
and because like I said, like you're your own best teacher, and that's the way you do it, you know. So you
Yes.
really creating those opportunities, and also you need to have a lot of perseverance. You need to have,
Yes.
it's a lot, a huge undertaking to do it, and it's very draining. And then, like the business side of things, like it's not for the faint of heart. Like you need to be able to deal with, like a lot of different personalities and things, and stay grounded, and like, just really have a healthy attitude and remember why
Yeah.
you love it, because it's really, that's the most important thing, is you do it because you love it, and just getting that experience.
Absolutely.
That's super important. Just always remember that, and don't let people tell you that you can't have fun doing it, because otherwise, why bother?
Absolutely. Gosh. Well, Felix, thank you so much for coming and chatting with me. And it's so nice to virtually meet you, and I look forward to the day when we can actually like be in the same place and collab sometime and
Yeah.
just hang out.
Yes.
I'll let you know when I'm in New York City. And thank you so much. And please send me, he at the in the middle of this shouted out a whole bunch of dates and things coming up of his. I'm gonna make him send me those dates so I can share them on the UIO page so that everybody can go listen to some cool music and just expose yourself to new music. Um, because you might find something you really love and you might want to do.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming to chat with me.
Thank you so much.
Of course. I'll see you soon.
Yes. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.